That's weird. All the slamming and banging on the other side of this wall has suddenly stopped as soon as I start filming. It's almost like they have some kind of knowledge of what I do in my bathroom. It's almost like there's some type of surveillance devices in here, as people keep telling me. So the psychopath who's been slamming things against this wall for the last 5 minutes suddenly got very quiet as soon as I silently stepped in here and turned the recording function on my phone's camera app. So either they have their ear glued to the wall, which is possible because they're a psycho. And by psycho, I mean a malignant, severely sick and twisted pedophile, hate stalking, BLM quote activist. Or they're using the surveillance devices that everybody keep telling me are in here. The piece of shit on the other side of this wall is autistic. And I have absolutely no sympathy for them because of that, because they're just a malignant psychopath who tries to do everything they can to harm anybody who pisses them off. That's a fact. Psychopaths literally cannot handle rejection. They can't handle anything that isn't as they think it should be. And they have no conscience. And now they're very quiet. If the slamming and banging that I hope I recorded part of in the last few minutes against this wall is due to chance, then it would still be happening. It immediately stopped, like literally 5 seconds after I started recording, even though the recording function on this phone is completely silent. Nobody should have any knowledge of what I'm doing on my phone when I'm standing inside my own bathroom with walls all around me and a ceiling. Interestingly enough, last time that the property manager, Oleg Liseyev, was in here, he kept staring up at these lights constantly, like he was looking to see something on the lights. There's nothing wrong with the lights. They're all working just fine. Why was he constantly looking up there? Is it possible that that's where some of the surveillance devices that everybody keep talking about are located? Yeah. And his paid psychopath, Jasmine Irizarry, is on the other side of this wall in the mostly unrented, vacant premises of the bathroom where she was officially housed by Mr. Liseyev between 2013 and 2022. And it's funny because it's almost like she went underground in 2022. Mr. Liseyev said, oh, we moved her out, but she's still in the building, but she's not in 78 anymore. And then now they're trying to say like, oh, she doesn't live in the building anymore. Of course she does. Do they think I'm stupid? I spent 5 years in a PhD program for clinical developmental psychology. I am fully able to recognize the psychotic behavioral thumbprint of a severely sick and twisted, disturbed psychopath when I have to deal with it every day. That's a psychopath. Yeah, all the banging and slamming stopped. So clearly there's some kind of surveillance device in here. Otherwise, it would still be going on because it was going on nonstop for the last 8 minutes. Chances of that slamming and banging suddenly stopping within seconds of me taking out my phone and starting to record it, that's not due to chance at all. The chances of that being a coincidence are 0. Statistically speaking, do the math. I can, maybe you should too. And just in case the slamming and banging suddenly starts again as soon as I step out of here, I'm just going to hit pause. So I've already made a video about pattern recognition. I mean accurate pattern recognition, not false pattern recognition, but accurate, verifiable, fact-based, specific, precise pattern recognition. Pattern recognition is a mental skill that is actually a measure of high IQ. Highly intelligent people are capable of accurate, reproducible, and precise pattern recognition. That is why highly intelligent people get hired as scientists, and they get hired as analysts and statisticians and mathematicians, logistics specialists, things like that. Because pattern recognition is critical for many pursuits in the detective field, scientific fields, analytic fields. You have to be able to recognize patterns, not just recognize them, identify and analyze them as well in fields such as science, IT, economics, and law enforcement. People who are not capable of pattern recognition have low IQs or lower IQs. They think that pattern recognition means that you're a conspiracy theorist or that you're paranoid. No, not when it's accurate. I have a 18-year track history of highly accurate, specific, and precise pattern recognition, as evidenced by the 13 scientific studies that I have co-authored with my name as a co-author in some of the highest end scientific journals on the planet. My thesis for my PhD program was so statistically valid that it was selected for national publication and presentation at the American Psychological Association's National Convention in San Francisco. So when I recognized the fact that somebody was violently slamming and banging things against the wall of my bathroom sink a few minutes ago, as I was listening to a news report about a Maryland mother named Rachel Moran who was violently raped and murdered by an MS-13 gang member who was here illegally from Venezuela, I guess, the slamming and banging suddenly started happening. That is one of many episodes of sudden, deliberate, repeated, violent behavior against the shared walls of my unit with the bathroom of 78 and also unit 76 below, when I have been watching or listening to a news program about women who are violently raped. Why would the psychopath sex offender who keeps being permitted by the Greenville Group to access the usually and almost entirely unrented vacant bathroom of Unit 78 start getting violent and deliberately aggressive against the wall of my bathroom or of my kitchen sink? Almost always when I am watching or listening to a news program where a woman is being reported as having been violently raped and usually murdered. The piece of shit directly below in 76 also likes to suddenly, violently slam things against the floor of this unit when I happen to watch a news program about women being violently raped and murdered. It's almost like I can't watch a news program of women being raped and murdered. Sorry, not a news program of, but reporting victims, female victims of violent rape and murder, without the sex offender in 78 and the violent psycho thug directly below in 76 deliberately and suddenly starting to slam things against the floor of my unit or the wall of my kitchen sink or bathroom whenever I happen to be watching a news program that reports women who have been violently raped and murdered. It's almost like these sex offenders, and I'm pretty sure they're both sex offenders because whoever's in 76 acts a lot like the person who likes to access the vacant premises of the bathroom of 78. They act almost identical. They get violent. Whenever I'm watching a news program in the privacy of this living space where people keep telling me they get to see what I do and have been telling me that they get to see what I do for 8 years now at least, they get violent whenever I happen to watch a news program about women being raped. It's almost like these sex offenders have a weird rape thing. Could it be because they're actually sex offenders, as I keep saying? I mean, wouldn't normal people not respond at all, like not even care about news reports where women are being violently raped and murdered? Right? I mean, anybody who has normal psychology doesn't really obsess over that kind of thing. I mean, it's a horrific story. And people with normal psychology might feel sympathy and concern over that kind of news program, especially since it seems to happen a lot. But sex offenders get all aroused. They like that sort of thing because they're the ones who do it. They are the rapists. That's why they're in the Massachusetts Sex Offender Registry. Jasmine Irizarry, who I have excellent reason to believe is in the bathroom of 78 right now. I don't care whether she officially is renting that unit or not, and she's not. She keeps being permitted by the Greenville group to access the vacant premises of her former bathroom, and then she deliberately becomes violent, intrusive, and harmful against the wall behind this kitchen sink whenever I do certain things in the privacy of this unit that trigger her. The psycho thug directly below in 76 also behaves a lot like Jasmine Irizarry. Maybe they are twins. Maybe they're the same person. Maybe they're working for the same sex offender advocacy group, also known as BLM hate stalking sex offenders. I have a serious problem with BLM because they seem to employ a lot of very disturbed, sick and twisted career criminals for some strange reason. It's almost like a George Soros kind of sponsored activity. George Soros is a pig. He's a disgusting, rejected piece of shit. I don't care if he has billions of dollars. He's a piece of shit. I'm pretty sure he's the Antichrist, given his mad, passionate love for sex offenders, psychopaths, and criminals that he likes to pay to engage in so-called activism towards anybody that George Soros doesn't like, which is pretty much everyone, except for sex offenders. George Soros and Oleg Alexeyev seem to be friends. Soros is a huge donor of BLM. And Oleg Alexeyev, the property manager, likes to cram large numbers of criminals who claim to be BLM activists into this building and the building across the street. The result is that there's constantly screaming, shouting, disruptive lowlife thugs hanging out on the street corners around this building complex, and they sit in cars and blast music for hours and stand on the street corners and scream and shout constantly for no reason. It's like it's a Soros-funded psycho circus, and that's exactly what Soros does. He funds psycho circuses all over the United States to destabilize communities. A lot of the psycho circuses that he funds are BLM. BLM has nothing to do with Black people, has nothing to do with any skin color. It is a deliberately Marxist, disruptive, fringe, radical activist group that does nothing to help Black people. And in fact, BLM makes Black people look bad. And that's why, really intelligent, successful, and normal Black people, such as Barack Obama, don't belong to BLM. They don't do anything with BLM because they don't need BLM. They see BLM as being a fringe, radical, disruptive domestic terror group that doesn't help Black people. BLM is not the NAACP. So again, back to the fact that the psycho trash sex offender psychopath in 78 likes to violently slam things against the wall behind my kitchen sink. When I happen to watch a news story that reports a woman being violently raped and murdered, that's not a coincidence. It also means that the sex offender has rape and homicidal ideation. When the violent career thug directly below in 76 starts violently slamming things directly below wherever I happen to be sitting in this unit, when I am watching a news report about female victims of violent rape and murder, that's not a coincidence either. Sometimes the slamming and banging happened at the same time from 78 and 76. When I watch news reports about women being violently raped and murdered. Gee, can the person in 76 possibly be a sex offender as well as the person in 78? Yes, because Mr. Oleg Alexeyev loves the sex offenders. He brags about their criminal abilities.